everyone, it's Miss Jenna from the Kids Clubhouse of the main line. Today is Wednesday, April 15th, 2020, and today we are going to read a book about ducklings being hatched, and they go on a grand adventure with their mom to find this magical island. So let's read Make Way for Ducklings by Robert McKee. Oh, this is a great picture. You can see the ducks hatching. They're getting ready to leave. Mr. and Mrs. Millard were looking for a place to live. But every time Mr. Millard saw what looked like a nice place, Mrs. Millard said it was no good. There was sure to be foxes in the woods or turtles in the water, and she was not going to raise a family where there might be foxes or turtles. So they flew on and on. When they got to Boston, they felt too tired to fly any further. There was a nice pond in the public garden with a little island on it. The very place to spend the night, quacked Mr. Millard. So down they flopped. And pretend to be birds. Flop, 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 flop. Next morning, they fished for breakfast in the mud at the bottom of the pond. But they didn't find much. Just as they were getting ready to start on their way, a strange, enormous bird came by. It was pushing a boat full of people, and there was a man sitting on its back. "Good morning," quacked Mr. Millard, but being polite, the big bird was too proud to answer. But the people on the boat threw peanuts into the water, so the Millards followed them all the way around the pond, and got another breakfast, better than the first. "I like this place," said Mrs. Millard, as they climbed out on the bank and wagging along. "Why don't we build a nest and raise our chicklings right in the pond? There are no foxes and no turtles, and the people feed us peanuts. What could be better?" "Good," said Mrs. Millard, delighted. At last, Mrs. Millard found a place that suited her, but, "Look out!" squeaked Miss Millard. "All of a ditcher. You'll get run over." When she got her breath, she added, "This is no place for babies. With all these horrid things rushing about, we'll have to look somewhere else." He was on the bike. He didn't see the ducks here. So they flew over Beacon Hill and around the State House, but there was no place there. They looked in Lewisburg Square, but there was no water to swim. Then they flew over the Charles River. "This is better," quacked Mr. Millard. Quack! "That island looks like a nice quiet place, and is only a little away from the public garden." "Yes," said Miss Millard, remembering the peanuts. "That looks just the right place to hatch our ducklings." So they chose a cozy spot among the bushes near the water and settled down to build their nest. And only just in time, for now they were beginning to molt. All their old wing feathers started to drop out, and they would not be able to fly again until the new ones grew in. But of course, they could swim, and one day they swam over the park on the riverbanks, and there they met a policeman called Michael. Michael fed them peanuts, and after that, the Mallards called on Michael every day. Boys and girls, if you notice, Michael is the policeman, so he's making sure the ducks are safe and they're fed. After Mrs. Mallard laid 8 eggs in the nest, she couldn't go to visit Michael anymore because she had to sit on the eggs to keep them warm. Because she moved off the nest only to get a drink of water, or to have her lunch, or to count the eggs and make sure they're all there. One day, the ducklings hatched out. First came Jack, then Kate, Quack, and then Lack, then Mac, then Knack, and all Quack, Pack, and Quack. Mr. and Mrs. Mullard were bursting with pride. It was a great responsibility taking care of so many ducklings, and it kept them very busy. Oh my goodness, they're so tiny. One day, Mr. Mullard decided he'd like to take a trip to see what the rest of the river was like further on. So, off he set. "I'll meet you in a week in the public garden," he quacked over his shoulder. "Take good care of the ducklings." "Don't you worry," said Mrs. Mullard. "I know all about bringing up children," and she did. She taught them how to swim and dive. Look at all those ducklings. She taught them to walk in line to come when they were called, and to keep a safe distance from bikes and scooters and other things with wheels. When at last she felt perfectly satisfied with them, she said one morning, "Come along, children, follow me." Before you could wink an eyelash, Jack, Cack, Lack, Mac, Knack, Ock, Pack, and Quack fell into line, just as they'd been taught. Miss Mullard led the way into the water, and they swam behind her to the opposite bank. Alrighty, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 ducklings. There, they wandered ashore and waggled along till they came to the highway. Uh-oh. There's a lot of cars on the highway. They should stay with their mom. Mrs. Marled stepped out to cross the road. Honk, honk, went the horns on the speeding cars. Quack, quack, went Miss Marled as she tumbled back again. Quack, 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 went Jack, quack, knack, lack, knack, knack, quack, pack, and quack, just as loud as their little quackers could. Quack. The cars kept speeding by and honking, and Mrs. Marled and the ducklings kept right on quacking and quacking. Oh my goodness. They made such a noise that Michael came running with his arms in the air and blowing his whistle. Honk, quack, quack, tweet. He planted himself in the center of the road, raised one hand up to stop the traffic, and then beaked with the other, the way policemen do, for Mrs. Marlowe to cross over. As soon as Mrs. Marlowe and the ducklings were safe on the other side and on their way down Mount Vernon Street, Michael rushed back to his police station. He called Clancy at headquarters and said, "There's a family of ducks walking down the street," Clancy said. "Family of what? Ducks," yelled Michael. "Send a police car, quick!" Uh-oh. Meanwhile, Miss Marlowe had reached the corner bookshop and turned into Charles Street with Jack, Clack, Lack, Mac, Knack, Auk, Pack, Pack, and Quack, all marching in line behind her. Everyone stared. An old lady from Beacon Hill said, "Isn't it amazing?" And the man who swept the street said, "Well now, ain't that nice?" And when Mrs. Millard heard them, she was so proud she tipped her nose in the air and walked along with an extra swing in her waddle. When they came to the corner of Beacon Street, there was a police car with 4 policemen that Clancy had sent from headquarters. The policemen held back the traffic so Mrs. Mullard and the ducklings could march across the street. Right on into the public garden. Inside the gate, they all turned around to say thank you to the policeman. The policeman smiled and waved goodbye. When they reached the pond and swam across to the little island, there was Mr. Millard waiting for them, just as he had promised. The ducklings liked the new island so much they decided to live there. All day long, they followed the swan boat and ate peanuts. And when night falls, they swim to their little island and go to sleep. The end. Aw, that was such a cute little story about how the ducklings were hatched. The mom and dad had to find the right place for them to be hatched at, and they were hatched. There were 8 of the ducklings, and they went through town to find this little island to live on. So that was the end of Circle Time. I am Miss Jenna, and I will see you here tomorrow. Bye!